Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Blitz Live. Andy and Brett here, taking you home to 9 o'clock. We got our good friend Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers on the phone with us. Jason, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Doing really well.
Doing good.
We've been talking about, of course, Auburn and the upcoming Sugar Bowl. This Auburn team versus this Oklahoma team. We've been hearing so much about Auburn getting healthy. Bowl practice is beginning right now. Just kind of tell us what you've been seeing from the Tigers, and what does Sean White and Cameron Petway look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the key for them is that you talk about being close to full speed, being close to 100%, and the difference in this football team. That's the interesting thing about this Auburn team is Kerryon Johnson gets hurt first quarter against Mississippi State, then Sean White against Ole Miss. I mean, you go really only 4 or 5 games did this trio of guys play together, and it was really 4 or 5 before they kind of figured out the way to use these guys the best. And so I think it's very interesting to watch this team and to listen to the guys talk. You hear them talk and they say, hey, this is exciting, fun, getting after it. I mean, I think they know that with those guys healthy and having a little time off, this is a different football team, and I think they feel good about going into the Sugar Bowl, close to full speed.
Well, Jason, you look at it, and I guess you have to say that Auburn, struggled, I guess, during the middle of the season with the Ole Miss game, passing, especially in the first half. They made some adjustments and played much better in the second half. But Vanderbilt threw the ball on them a little bit. I guess if this defense does have a weakness, that would be it, which it's not really that big of a weakness. But Oklahoma, that's their strength. You start looking at their numbers, they really throw the ball extremely well. Baker Mayfield, number 1 pass efficiency team in the entire country. They're going to throw the ball, and they're going to throw it quite a bit. How do you think Auburn fares, or what do you think Auburn has to do to kind of slow down Oklahoma's passing attack?
Yeah, the interesting thing is that Oklahoma does it, and a lot of it is down the field, vertical passing attack, which Auburn hasn't allowed a lot of. And a lot of reasons why is they've been able to get to the quarterback, so teams really started doing the short dink and dunk. And, that's what Ole Miss and Vandy both did. And, Chad Kelly threw for a ton of yards, and they had the ball a bunch. But, you look at it, and if you make somebody, throw it 10, 12 times on a drive, the chances are that you're going to make a play or two here or there. I think that's what you look at. Will Oklahoma change what they do? Ole Miss changed what they did. That was a team that did not do a whole lot of that prior to Auburn. And when they played Auburn, they were willing to take the tight end. And, that's the thing. Oklahoma, I don't know if there's another Evan Ingram out there anywhere, but they don't have one of those guys. And that was really the biggest mismatch guy out there. You saw what Vandy did the rest of the year. They kind of found something in that day, and that's a much different Vandy offense from the rest of the season on than the one prior to Auburn. So I think it's a matchup you look at. And obviously, Oklahoma, a ton of talent. D.D. Westbrook, big play guy. I think if you're Auburn, you feel good about taking your chances on them, having to make a play or two here or there other than giving up a big deep ball, because that's what Auburn's been pretty good at so far this season. Jason,
Stidham arrives on campus and practice today along with KJ Britt and Malcolm Askew. Just talk about that a little bit, because I know we got a lot of people out there that were asking us about how did Jarrett Stidham look, how did these guys look just being out there practicing with the team.
Yeah, no pads today for Auburn. I mean, they've already gone 6 days, so they just kind of went out and kind of review day today because they've already started putting the game plan in. So really not a whole lot for those guys to do. They did some individual drills, did some of those things. So gave Jarrett Stidham a chance to throw it a little bit of individual drills, but not a whole lot for them to do really in 3 practice days. But it does give them a chance to kind of, as Gus Malzahn said today, kind of figure out, okay, what are these practices like? How are they run? What do the coaches, want to see out of guys? So it gave them a little bit of an introduction ahead of spring practice. And, this is really, probably more workman-like than the spring is, because they're able to have meetings during the day, watch film, do all these things. These guys, they'll get a head start on doing that. And in the spring, you got classes thrown in, you got all these things, and you practice maybe 3 days a week. Well, this gives them really a 3-day, and they were on, couple of guys on campus yesterday, Askew and Britt, to go through meetings, and so they get a chance to have a crash course in Auburn football ahead of spring practice. So not a whole lot for them to do right now other than just kind of get an introduction and kind of see how everything runs.
One more thing about Stidham, obviously Sean White has been hampered the last 2 years and with injuries. And, you know, when Sean's healthy, obviously he gives Auburn a very good chance to win against whoever. Stidham comes in, obviously everybody heralding him as the #1 JUCO guy, one of the top transfers in the country, if not the top transfer. Auburn is able to land him, bring him in. What do you foresee going into the spring? Because, you know, I hate it for Sean White because he's proven that it's not by his fault, but he you know, if you stay injured, you know, you're not reliable. But Jarrett Stidham comes in highly touted, I'm sure expecting to get the nod at quarterback by choosing Auburn. I'm sure that's what Gus Malzahn and Rhett Lashlee sold him on. What do you see going into the spring?
Yeah, I think you see competition because, I think it's easy to see from Sean White. You see a guy that's not going to give up his job without a fight, and I think that's what you're looking for. And I think if you're Auburn, what you do is I think for the first time in quite a while, you look at it and go, we've got two guys that we can continue to do the same things with at quarterback and on offense and not have to change it for one guy or the other. You know, it's been a long time since we've seen that. I don't know the last time. You know, you think back to, 2009, Chris Todd wasn't that type. 2010, if you have to go to the next guy, obviously you don't have another Cam Newton. 13, 14, Jeremy Johnson, not the same guy as Nick Marshall, so you change things up there. So I think for the first time you look at it, you saw how different it was this year when you have to change the offense, try to change it in midstream. It's very difficult to do and almost impossible. So I think what this does is it gives you a little bit of a security blanket going, hey, whoever wins the job, we've got a second guy that we feel good about, a guy that can do what we want him to do on offense and can make plays, and you don't have to change your style, which I think we've seen the style kind of morph a little bit to throwing a little ball a little bit more, especially in the first half, setting up the run, and then if you can run it, then you lean on that. But I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of that development in the spring.
Well, Jason, we appreciate it so much. Before we let you go, you got a gut feeling about the Sugar Bowl one way or the other?
Yeah, like I said, I think with this Auburn team, with Sean White, Cameron Petway, and Kerryon Johnson, close to full speed, maybe full speed, I think this team can play with anybody. And I think you saw in the Iron Bowl, without any offense at all to speak of, that they were able to kind of hold their own for a half. I think you put these guys on the field. We saw Auburn play really, really good during that 6-game stretch. I think this is an Auburn team that expects to go to New Orleans to win the game.
Well, Jason, we appreciate it so much. You have a Merry Christmas. Bring home a win from the Sugar Bowl and have a Happy New Year.
You guys see you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.